Hello, my name is Duncan Carson. I'm the software tester trainer and coach on the software tester standard apprenticeship at Estio. So before I get into anything else, let me just take you through what I'm going to be doing over the next 20 minutes or so on this webinar. Okay, so share my screen with you. So I'm going to be talking through the next thing. So just a brief introduction to myself. Then I'm going to be talking about the 3 different software related apprenticeships which are delivered by Estio. And then we're going to get into the sort of training module that we're doing. I'm going to be doing it on Java. I'm going to first of all be showing you the Intellij Idea IDE, that's Integrated Development Environment, which is one of the things, it's one of these sort of platforms that you can use to write code in Java as well as other programming languages. And then I'm just going to show you some sort of primitive data types in Java, and I'm going to build a very simple little adding calculator just to add a couple of numbers together with a bit of user input, just sort of shows how you can do that. And then there will also be like a little follow-up worksheet that you can use just with a few tiny little tasks on it. So if you feel inspired by what I'm going through today, that you can sort of download that and spend some time going through that. Okay. So I am, as I said, so my name's Duncan Carson, and I've been working here since sort of March or so last year, and so part of my job is delivering training. Okay, so sort of 2 to 3 days a week I deliver training. So the first thing that the software testers do, the first training block they get, the technical training anyway, is for the Istqb qualification. Okay, I can sort of share that with you as well on the screen, just to show you what that actually is. Okay, just find the point. So it's the Istqb. So this is an internationally recognised certification. They do actually offer a variety of different qualifications, but the one we're doing is the foundation level certified tester, the one that you can see there at the bottom of the screen, and it does cover it covers the whole breadth of what's involved in software testing. And I find it very useful because it's a very good match with the whole of the software tester apprenticeships, with all the competencies and sort of knowledge and skill that's required. It does sort of map across very well, and I think all apprentices find it useful, even apprentices who've already been working in the industry for quite for a number of years. They have been surprised at the breadth of coverage that's in there, and it does help as well to sort of learn the kind of technical language. So even testers that have been working for a number of years sometimes don't realise that there is actually like official terminology for some of the things that they may have been doing, such as say boundary value analysis and equivalence partitioning, that they may have been doing almost intuitively, but not realising that there was an actual official term for what they were doing. So I like it. I think it's a good qualification. So after they've done the Istqb, then move on to Java, and so we basically cover what is the MTA in Java, so at least that sort of content. But I try and sort of deliver it in a kind of very, very interactive way. So it's not about just like slides and listening to me. It's about people. It's about the apprentices actually doing stuff and actually coding and just sort of, building things and getting that satisfaction of seeing something working at the end of a lesson, so that feeling that they've actually created something. And obviously the other thing that I do is this ongoing support and coaching to apprentices to help them through, just give them guidance on what's expected in terms of their portfolio, helping them work towards a portfolio that meets every single one of the competencies. Okay, so what are the different software related apprenticeships that we provide at Estio? Okay, so the first one's a level 3, so it's a software development technician. Okay, and then we've got the software developer and the software tester, which are both level 4 apprenticeships. So let me just jump on quickly onto the Estio website. Okay, so if you go onto there and you go on to click on learners and become an apprentice and scroll down there a little bit until you get to courses. Okay, software development technician, so let's click on that. And then that just sort of tells you a bit about, for example, the common job roles that a software development technician might be involved in. So these are obviously jobs that they have to be doing when they're on that apprenticeship. Okay, so it's not jobs that they're going to go into after. They have to be doing this kind of job when they're doing the apprenticeship. Okay, so they have their introduction and their induction and so on, and functional skills, making sure they've got a qualification, and if not, then obviously doing the level 2 functional skills. But these, in terms of the technical modules, they'll be doing C#. Okay, so sort of software development with C#, looking at the syntax, classes, variables, different data types, and so on. And then they'll do the software development context and methodologies, which is a little bit about the software development lifecycle and the whole kind of business context. So it's a little bit like moving from coding in the bedroom to like coding in a business environment. They also learn a little bit about the sort of like user interface design and the importance of that. And they will also be doing the Java. Okay, so this is the same content basically that I deliver for the software tester as well. But we have other trainers as well who are involved with software, and they'll be delivering this. Okay, that sort of covers the kind of essential, the basics, if you like, of Java. Okay. So that is the software development technician. So let's go back and have a quick look at the other two as well. So back onto courses, software developer. Okay, so this is a little bit longer, so up to 20 months. Some of the common job roles: web developer, games, software application, mobile app developers. Okay, there'll be typical roles. And in terms of the content, in terms of the training, it's C#, similar to the other program, it's a little bit more advanced, and sort of development methodologies. Okay, so that's a different kind of differences between waterfall and agile, the benefits of those different approaches, and the different responsibilities, different roles that you would find within software development. Okay, so that's obviously, as well as software developers, it's testers, business analysts, project managers, all the other different sort of stakeholders that are involved, and also then there's these sort of agile kind of specific roles within agile as well. Sort of Scrum Master and product owner and those different responsibilities. So it's learning about those, and then you've got the systems development essentials. Learning about sort of architecture and quality assurance, SQL. Okay, so learning about SQL for sort of database manipulation and creating tables. And you've got software languages, which is covered as well. So looking more at the kind of difference between functional and non-functional software design, algorithms, computational theory, and a little bit about programming skills, and again Java, which for the developers they can do that as an additional module if they like. There's quite a little bit of training in the software developer program, so we just offer the Java as an optional add-on. Okay, so and then moving on then to software tester. I'll just go into that one. Okay, so Yeah, software tester, analyst or test engineer, so the typical job titles. And as I mentioned, yeah, I won't go over this much because I've already briefly explained it. You've got your software testing tools and software testing concepts. So those are two halves, if you like, of the Istqb, six chapters in the Istqb, which we'll go through, and then the Java as well. Okay. So moving on then. What I'm going to talk then a little bit about now is Java related. So I thought Java is common across all three modules. So I thought let's do a little bit on Java. Okay, so first off, the Intellij Ide. So an IDE is basically a platform that you can use to develop software. Okay, it's not strictly necessary. I mean, you could just use like a Java or software development kit, a Java development kit, which is another package that you can download, and it is actually incorporated into the IDE as well. But there's no reason you can use it standalone if you like, but you'd be a lot more limited in the support and what you could do with it. So it's much more convenient to use a platform such as Intellij Idea. Okay, so it's something you can download. It doesn't cost anything to download it. Let me just jump onto the website. Okay, so this is the website, it's JetBrains, okay, jetbrains.com/idea. If you go onto there, click on the download button. I'm not going to download it here, I'm just going to show you where you can download it. So you've got this ultimate, which is the ultimate edition is for the sort of business and so on, and that you can get a free 30-day trial, but there's the community edition, which you can download for free, and has got probably all the functionality you're going to need, certainly for small teams and so on. And there's also actually a sort of community kind of education edition, which you can download as well, which is the one that I'm going to be using. Okay. Okay. So let's have a look at that then. So I'm going to look at some. So first off, then I should say Java is an object-oriented programming language. So that just means, well, it's a kind of whole sort of topic in itself, really, but it basically means that you're using trying to encapsulate the real world, so things you see in the real world, into classes. Okay, so humans have a kind of innate tendency to classify things into sort of groups, so animals, mammals, birds, trees, fish, etc. like that. So we kind of classify things, and so it's trying to kind of encapsulate that. So you'll have classes of things which you can think of like a sort of blueprint, but then you'll have instances of those classes, so specific instances. So for example, maybe a specific bird, a specific fish, or something like that. Or for example, with cars, you might have a kind of class of cars, but then you might have a specific car or an instance of a car, which would be, let's say, I don't know, red Ford Mustang with a specific number plate. That would be a specific instance, or in Java terminology, it would be like an object. Okay, so you create objects from classes. So as with any programming language, there's different data types. So I'm going to go through a few of those, concentrate mainly really on integer, but briefly explain perhaps some of the others. And I'll explain what primitive data types are. Okay, so if you're just starting out in Java and you want to know a little bit about the basics, you'll find that this website W3 Schools is really good. Okay, so Java, there's a little Java tutorial on there. That's definitely worth having a look at. So that's like I'll probably put a link in into the worksheet as well. Actually, you can see this. So the different data types are actually listed on there as well, and the amount of memory that each one occupies. So there's numeric ones. So these are primitive data types. Okay, so you can kind of classify into primitive data types and non-primitive data types. Okay, so primitive data type is the fundamental basic that's sort of kind of built into the software, whereas a non-primitive data type would be one that it can essentially be created by programmers, so built on top of there's more of a sort of structured data type built on top of the primitive data types. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is jump into the Intellij Idea. So I will just fire up the Intellij Idea. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. So basically it's very easy to install this. So once you've installed it, you would want to set up a project. I've actually already set up a project, but all you need to do if you want to set up a new one is just go into File, New, Project, and then just basically sort of follow a few steps through them. There are sort of various options and so on that you can use, but you can just set up a very basic one. So for example, make sure you're on Java. Don't click any additional libraries or anything, but do make sure you've got the project SDK installed. So for here, for example, I've got Java version 16.0.2. But if there isn't one already installed, you can just go to download JDK, which is the Java Software Development Kit. So this is what I was mentioning before, that you could use as a standalone thing if you wanted to. So you can just download it. It's very easy. Okay, and it will just install it. Then you click next, and then you can just click next again, and it will create it for you. Okay, I've already got one created, so I'm not going to create another one. So once you've done that, then there probably won't be any actual files there. So the folder that your files are in, okay, so the code that you write is going to be in a folder called SRC, which stands for source code. Okay, so you would kind of right-click on that source folder and go to New Java Class, and then just click on Class. So you do have to remember that a class equates to a file. Okay, essentially. So if you create a new file, that is a new class, so that you will in there basically sort of encapsulate a class. And it should start with an uppercase letter. Okay, and so the name of the file must match the class name. So we've called this main. So this must also be called main. Okay, same uppercase first letter and everything. It's got to be matched. It's case sensitive, so you just have to be careful of that. Okay, so the first thing that you need to sort of type into your file to make sure things are working is just a phrase. When you start coding Java, you'll see it. I won't go into what it actually means at the moment. So it's public static void main. Okay, so that is your starting point. Okay, so once you hit the run button or the execute button, the code will initiate, will find this main method and then start from there. Okay, so we're at this point. So at this point, we can now actually start maybe declaring some variables and so on. So let's start off with integer. So a primitive integer data type, you just type in int. Okay, if you wanted to declare, i.e., create, I guess, an integer that you can then use. Okay, so let's say we've got int, and we're just going to call it n1. Let's say number 1. Okay, and you could just leave it like that. You could just say, okay, so we've now created an integer. We're just calling n1. Okay, but let's give it a value. So we could say n1. Let's say 5. Okay, I'm gonna call that. Let's get another one. Let's call it int. Let's call it n2. Okay, so at this point we've created 2 integers. What happens if you do a simple mathematical operation? Let's say that add them together. So we could have a third int. Let's call it n3, and let's just make that. Let's say n1 plus n2. Okay, so we now have a third one. So that's great, but what happens if we actually want to see the results of that? We want to print that out to screen. Okay, so there's a very common command that's used, which is called system.out.println. Okay, and that's basically prints out to the system console, which we'll see in a minute. It prints out whatever you want it to print out from the code that you've written. Okay, so it might just say, well, let's just print out n3. Okay, and then we can go and click on this little play button here, this sort of run button, which will first of all compile the code. So it will sort of run it, make sure, well, not run it, sorry, it will check it to make sure that there's no errors and so on in there. And in fact, with Intellij Idea, we can see already that there are no errors because they would be underlined, there would be warnings and so on if there was some problem. So if I kind of just to show you that, okay, I put in a couple of random letters there, it makes it red. So it's saying I don't understand what that is. Okay. One of the many benefits of using an IDE. Okay, you get all this kind of help as you're coding. So anyway, let's execute that. Okay, it takes a few seconds because it's compiling. Okay, so that does take a little while, and then if it doesn't find any problems, it will execute it. Okay, so you can see there it's printed out the number 15. Okay, so 5 plus 10, 15. So that's, you can see that it works. Okay, so that's fine. So that's one operation. Obviously, you can do others as well. You can, different things. You can negative is subtract. Multiply would be with an asterisk. If you wanted to divide, it would be with a forward slash. So that's int. There's other ones as well. So I don't think, to be honest, we're gonna have time to do those. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to build a simple calculator. The calculator is probably a bit of an elaborate word for it, for what it is, but let's just get some user input. So the user is going to input a couple of numbers. That's me. So I'll just input a couple of numbers into the console in response to a message from Intellij Idea, and then it's going to tell me what the sum is of those two numbers that I've entered. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And for this, we're going to use an inbuilt method called scanner. Okay, and this scans the input that the user has provided. So I input scanner, and then I'll create an object. So here what I'm doing is actually creating a scanner object. So it's an object derived from that scanner class. Okay, so you'll notice that this is coming up in red. Okay, so that's telling me the problem. It says java.util.scanner. Okay, you say, where is it? I can't see it anywhere. And it just says Alt plus Enter. So if you hit Alt plus Enter, okay, it imports the utility. Okay, because sometimes there's some inbuilt stuff that you don't need to import, but for something like Scanner, you need to import that to make it available. Okay, so we've got scanner scan equals new scanner. So we're essentially creating, and you'll notice I'm typing in here that there's prompts coming up and so on, which is very helpful because it's like Intellij Idea giving me help. Okay, so we're saying that we want whatever is input into the system. Okay, so we've got system.in in there. So that's basically going to get some input. Okay, so and then we're going to request some input from the user. So we use this system out print line command, and we say, let's say just please input a digit. Then we say, okay, so we're going to have some input. Let's just call it like input input one. Don't call it int first. So int input one equals scan an object that we've created. Okay, next int. Okay, so that means whatever it is that's been input by the user is going to be essentially fed into input one. Okay, that's going to be the value of input one. Okay, so that's going to give us our first digit. So we basically need to do the same again to get a second digit. Okay, let's put in here another digit, and let's call this input 2. Okay, because otherwise we'll just overwrite the first one. Okay, so at this point in the code, we should have 2 digits. Okay, so correct the spelling there. So then we want to add them together. Okay, so let's say we've got int answer. Okay, so let's say int answer equals input 1 plus input 2. And we want to print it out, don't we, so we can see what the actual answer is. So we'll say, let's put out the, let's say, so it's called input 1 plus input 2. Then plus, this is basically going to sort of concatenate some text in here as well. So input 1 input plus. No, you need to actually put in a plus sign in here as text as well. So that means we'll have to put in a plus space. And then plus equals answer. Okay, so I think that should do it. Okay, so let's, hopefully no debugging is going to be required. Let's run this, and I think that should be okay. Let's see if it runs properly. Okay, so it says please input a digit. So let's go for 3. Please input another digit. Let's go for 7. Saying, yeah, 3 plus 7 equals 10. Okay, so that's a very simple calculator with a little bit of Java. Okay, so let's go back onto what we're doing. So I've shown you those. So we've looked at some primitive data types, and we've done the little calculator. And yeah, so the last little thing then was just to show you this little where was it gone? This worksheet. That was it. Here we go. Bring this over. So this is going to be downloadable for you. So it's just basically go and download Intellij Idea, create a new project. So if you can get hold of this video and just sort of see how I did that, add a new class. So it's basically create a new file, declare 2 integer variables. So same as I did basically, just to do that, assign valid integer values to each one. Then print out the sum of those 2. Okay, using the system out print line command, and then find out the amount of memory that an integer variable occupies with integer.size. So you have to figure out how to do that, but it's a way to actually see how much memory a variable type occupies. Okay, so you can do that with integer, with byte, with float, with anything, and you can sort of see in the code the size. And then you can find out perhaps what the minimum value is that the byte command can have. And then the last thing is maybe build a better version of this calculator. Okay, so it's very, very basic. So perhaps offer the option to subtract instead of add, and maybe you can go and incrementally build on it. Okay, so that's it. That's just a quick intro to a little bit of Java. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.